What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Dreamer Cigars podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam Guard, aka AG the Dreamer.
And I'm your co-host, Logan Hamilton, aka Hambone. And today, our very special guest is Luciano Meirelles. How are you, man? How are you doing?
Doing well, brother. Doing well. Happy to be here to show. I was excited about it.
That's good. So I've always been curious, right? We've never met officially in person. Did he get your name right?
Yeah, he did great, actually.
I got your last name right?
He did.
Nailed it.
Meirelles, nice. Okay, cool.
Love that.
Well, let's just jump right into it. I think we're both very curious how you got started in the cigar world. What was that like?
It's a long story, and I'll tell you the not the short version, but I'll tell you what I can tell you in the next 3 minutes.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been a cigar smoker since I was 18 years old. Actually, before, but we can't say that publicly, right? But I always struggled my entire life with actually a condition that I have called synesthesia. So all my senses are mixed up, right? So I there's a lot of pain that comes with that disease. You know, a lot of headaches, stomach issues. You get very sensitive to sounds. So it was always a challenge for me. And because at that time, talking about when I was born 47 years ago, there wasn't much knowledge about this. So I was treated many different ways, different drugs, different things. Nothing ever worked. It was a very long journey of pain, but I learned how to live with, how to cope with, and this has been always part of my life, you know. So I was obsessed with flavors. I was obsessed with sounds. And the story starts right there, and that's why I always smoked cigars. Was for me, it was about trying to understand, you know, the flavors behind. Now, move forward. Now I'm graduating, you know, school. I'm actually coming out of University of Chicago, and create investment funds at a very early age. I was very successful in that area of my life. Was working like crazy. You know, years later, talking about, so I graduated in 1999, talking about now 2007. I have already three daughters actually. One is 14. I am, which I have to explain to you why I was there in Dominican Republic, but I had part of my business was to deal with a lot of blue chip companies, like companies that are very large and wanted to expand into different regions. So it's basically private equity. Yeah. So I developed all the relationships with, you know, governments and some of these private entities. And I was basically living a crazy life, making a lot of money. But I was basically losing my family. You know, my marriage was going downhill. I almost didn't see my eldest daughter grow up. And in 2007, I was working directly with the Dominican Republic government, with President Lionel, into tax issues, tax incentives to export Dominican cigars into countries in Eastern Europe and Latin America. Yeah. It was a very successful relationship. I meet Ernesto Perez Carrillo during that time. One of the days that we had a meeting afterwards, he invited me to come over. So I was sitting in his office talking, and I received this phone call from my wife saying that one of my daughters had experienced a very traumatic situation. And without going into details, I immediately flew back, and there was a very, very traumatic experience that she went through, and I just decided to change my lifestyle. So the short answer to a question would be, I got into the cigar business because I was looking for healing, and also because I want to become a better man, a better father to my kids. So that was the reason, because after that happened, I took about a year sabbatical, and I was fortunate to be able to not depend on working anymore. But because of my personality, I mean, I have to work. I have to do something meaningful, you know. So I decided to go back to Dominican. I would come and see Ernie like very now and then, because he was extremely supportive. He embraced me during that difficult time. In one of the strips, you know, I told him, I said, I want to do something, and I think I'm going to actually work with cigars, you know. And he laughed at me and said, so if you want to lose money, welcome, you know. And
Yeah.
and I said, well, I'm not looking to make money. And I started this small operation in Nicaragua in 2008, when he was creating Tabacalera Alianza. And he's the one who introduced me to Pichardo.
Yeah.
He knew his family from Cuba. He said, you know, I know this guy. He's now in Brazil for the past 2 years. I helped him, but he's very good in agriculture. So if you want to maybe start growing tobacco, he's the guy you should go for.
Wow.
And by the way, the history of our company comes from agriculture first. Most of the companies, they start with a brand, and then they go to manufacturing, then tobacco processing, and then eventually they'll get into farming. So we came from the opposite. We came from farming to tobacco processing to factory, and then brands.
Wow.
So we've been in the business for past 16 years, but we only launched our own brands in 2018. It's been only
Right.
5 years, 4 years. So
I mean, you guys
again,
have hit the industry pretty hard.
yeah, I mean, we have, again, because we came from this opposite direction, we have a lot of support, because we're making cigars for so many different people, and we have so many good relationships, that it was truly organic to kind of, you know, when we jumped into creating our own brands, we have support from many of them. And the way we did was very ethical. So we came to some of these clients and said, listen, this is our plan for the next year. This was back in 2017, but I won't do it without your support, you know. So we made sure we were in good terms with everybody that we producing cigars for. And we received this amazing support from all these companies, and that of course helped a lot to launch, you know, this prime.
Yeah.
And it's been a crazy journey, man. We grew up really fast, and but very responsible. So not like, you know, nothing's artificial. We basically started small, and then we got this strategic alliance with Crown Heads back in 2020, because we were already making products for them. Then we started distribution through them, and that kind of gave them another jump into to the consumers, into the retailers. And then it's been a nonstop growing since then, and unfortunately we are here now, and I'm very happy with what we achieved so far. But yeah, that's kind of the 3 minute, maybe went to 5, I guess, answer.
No, you're good.
But the short answer is that it was truly a healing process. And working with cigars also helped me with my disease too, like my condition. There's like 99% of bad stuff, but there's 1% of good stuff. You know, I can memorize sounds, flavors, that kind of thing. It does create it for me an opportunity to live with my condition, you know. So I basically blend on a daily basis, and yeah.
I mean, that's truly an incredible story. That's a pretty crazy story. I know you sent me kind of your bio before, and I read it, and I was like, what has this guy not done?
Right.
Like, I was like, okay, there's a lot more to you than I think a lot of the cigar people in the, they smoke your cigars. Like today, I mean, we didn't even bring it up, but I'm smoking your Pachado Maduro.
And I am smoking the Luciano, the Dreamer.
Yep. And
A fitting name, by the way.
a fitting name, absolutely. I mean, I love the Dreamer. I'm a little mad that you took our Dreamer name. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's definitely something that it's quite obvious that you've had quite the journey, and you've always been kind of that dreamer mentality. So that makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of people can learn from the journey you've had and the decisions you made about deciding to become the man you wanted to be, the family man, about taking care of your daughter and taking care of your family, and going back to that. It really is admirable. That's awesome.
I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. It's been again a journey, and I don't regret a bit. So after I made that decision, things changed a lot. I'm happy that my other two daughters got a much better version of me after I made the decision, and I was able to actually fix a lot of things in my relationship with my eldest daughter too. She, by the way, has her own company. She's 24 now, and
Really?
doing beautifully.
So she got
she
some
lives
of
in
those
France.
entrepreneurial genes then.
Yeah.
Definitely, she's an artist. She's in fashion design, and
Wow.
but she's very
I like that.
successful. She created her own company, completely independent.
Wow.
She also got married a couple of years ago.
That's awesome.
So
Congratulations to
maybe,
that.
maybe one day I'll be a grandpa.
I like it. I like
Very
it.
nice. Very nice. I gotta tell you, I'm getting a lot of wonderful taste out of this cigar.
Yeah, I have
It's really
had the
good.
Dreamer before, but I've never had the Pachorda Maduro, so I wanted to make sure I tried this one.
Yeah, this is the first time I've had the Dreamer, and it's absolutely incredible. It's the ash is holding up beautifully, and it's very even and very smooth draw, and the taste. I love the taste. But speaking of taste, though, how do you get the true taste out of cigars? What is that to you?
I think a taste is a taste, right? So sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. But like cigars for me is truly like cooking. I was hearing the other day a friend of mine talking about. He's a cigar maker. He's more like simplistic. He says, "Oh, if you have good tobacco, good. It's just like cooking. Have good ingredients, it will be good." I think that's more than that. But at the same time, I think he's right. I think once coming from the agriculture and the tobacco process, you understand the importance of that process, the importance of the quality of the tobaccos that you use. That's extremely important. And but for me, the flavors, the taste, the true taste, and the true flavors comes out of a good process of fermentation and the combination. But when I say the combination, mainly the most important achievement that should be for any cigar maker is to make people salivate, because that's
Yeah.
the only way that you can fully perceive flavor is if you're salivating, because then it opens. There's some taste buds can only be open, if you salivate. Just like when you eat food,
I
if
should
you
have
have
worn a
saliva in
bib
your mouth.
today. I got too much. I'm just salivating from the cigars. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I like that.
But it's true. Like this, the only way you can fully perceive a flavor of a cigar is if you salivate. That's why some cigars that dry your mouth, you're always going to need something to drink with or to pair with. Otherwise, it will be hard for you to really perceive flavor.
Yeah, that's actually a really good.
Interesting.
That's a really good point, because we focus so much on cigar beginners, right? Teaching people that they don't know which side of the cigar to cut. They're just the basics. They want to learn how to get into it, and that's what we focus on. That's everybody watching today, or not everybody, but a lot of people that are going to watch this. They're sitting there like, all right, I just want to get into it. I want to learn. And I'm sure a lot of people that have had maybe one or two cigars in the past, they're like, man, my mouth is just, yeah, like the whole, like that, what you get. And so guys, now, smoke any of Luciano's cigars and you're going to salivate. You're going to be able to, you're going to be fine.
But
Um,
you know how, you know how crazy this is, and I like to talk about some unconventional things, or try to kind of bust some myths
yeah, I love it.
of our cigar industry, right? Um, the way we all perceive flavors really depends on so many different factors. Um, we have several taste buds, but they're mainly divided in two types of reactions that your brain decodes. One is, it's called ionic taste buds, which is basically an electric impulse that's generated to the nerve system. Your brain decodes as if it's spicy, hot, or cold. that's what prevents you from burning your internal organs. That's why you don't drink a hot
Yeah, coffee.
tea,
Yeah, tea. Yeah.
but that otherwise you would burn yourself internally if you know if it's on a boiling point, or even if it's over, uh, 200
Right.
degrees. I mean, you burn yourself. Uh, it's also important that taste buds are responsible for you to perceive flavors. They're spicy. Now there's another type of taste bud that only works when you salivate, uh, which is called the protein-based taste buds. So basically, your brain sends a signal in a fraction of a second uh, when you're going to eat to make you salivate, or something causes the salivation. It could be from baking powder to a little bit of salt to the combination of magnesium and salt makes you salivate a lot. Uh, there's some elements that trigger that. But when that happens, in your saliva, there's a protein, and that protein adheres to the molecules of that food, and that's how your brain recognizes that flavor. It's by that connection. That's only possible if you salivate. It's impossible if you don't salivate.
Yeah.
So this is number one. The number, well, there's hundreds, but I'll name five very very important ones.
No, you're
The
good.
second
That's
one,
very informative. That's good stuff.
yeah, the other one is how actually the pH of your saliva is, and which is uh, complete, totally connected with what you eat and how your stomach reacts, your digestive system reacts to certain types of food, what kind of medications you take. Let's say let's say you have constant pain, which a lot of people does, and they take Tylenol all the time. So
Right.
anti-inflammatories that has the substance of Tylenol affects the way you perceive flavor. Or 50% of our population has a bacteria in their stomach called H. pylori. If you are one of that 50%, you're going to perceive flavor different than me that I don't have. Or let's say you take antibiotics because you got a strep throat, or you have a skin infection, you're taking a antifungal. I mean, it depends on the medication you take, what kind of bacteria you have in your stomach. That will determine.
Wow.
Also, what you eat.
Yeah, that's very
Fascinating.
What you eat, so when you wake up in the morning, you are basically fasting for the past 8 hours or more. Uh, when you fast that long, your brain is also sending signals to creating a hormone that gives you, that makes you satisfied, that you don't have to eat at night. So we don't wake up in the middle of the night. Generally, some people do, but we don't wake up in the middle of the night and wanting to eat a steak, although you are without eating for so many hours. So when you wake up, the pH of your saliva is extremely low. So that's why you are able to perceive flavors in a mild cigar sometimes. But if you want to really smoke a strong cigar, the best time to smoke is in the morning. That flavor, you feel more that strong. Now, let's say you have a meal. You just ate. And a lot of people say, well, after you eat, go and smoke a strong cigar. Actually, if you want to smoke a strong cigar, you should smoke while you're eating or before you eat, because that's when the acidity of your saliva is really high, so the pH is low. So because you have that high acidity in your mouth, you tolerate more strength. So technically, that's another myth. So if you smoke the cigar before the meal, that's the best time to smoke a strong cigar. Now, if you wait 30 minutes after you ate to smoke, then your saliva is extremely alkaline. So it's becomes sensitive again as if you just woke up. 30 minutes after the meal. It's the rebound effect. And all that saliva is going to your lower digestive system, to your stomach to process the food. And that's why your saliva becomes alkaline. So again, you cannot sit in a room with the same cigar and everybody's reaction
be the same.
they cannot perceive the same unless if you equalize the room. If everybody ate at the same time, as the same body components, ate the same type of food, don't take any different medications from each other. That's why perceiving the food flavors of cigar is just it is a personal experience.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so fascinating. This
I
is
like, yeah.
cigar science right here.
Yeah, we're gonna rename this episode "Cigar Science." But it's really good. I'm really glad that you shared that though, because I think a lot of viewers, if they're just starting to get into the cigar world, they watch the reviews. They go to Cigar Aficionado and they look at the top 25. They watch reviews like people like us do, like podcasts and all this sort of social media people, right? And we actually get bagged on for this specifically. We do reviews because people want to know what we think of cigars, but we don't ever bash a cigar. Like I don't care if I didn't like it at all. I won't give it like just like, oh, this is a 2, never smoke this. I'll never say that. I'll say I didn't necessarily take to this cigar, but there's too many factors, like you said, that go into it, that I may smoke a cigar one time, not like it, and it may be a different scenario, or I smoked it first thing in the morning a different time, and I was able to appreciate the flavors more and like the cigar. So we do get, we get a similar audience sometimes as some other podcasts that'll do reviews and all this, and they're like, man, that's a terrible cigar. So and so rated that like, like terrible, whatever. And I'll be like, have you tried it?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah.
try
There's
it.
so many different blends out
Yeah.
there that it's just like you
Uh,
can't down one because you don't never know if the next person's gonna like
There's a
that.
cigar
yeah,
out there for
and
somebody.
and I'll tell you this, man. It's just funny. I because I memorize, the taste profiles of my cigars. So sometimes I read a review and I know exactly what time of the day that person reviewed my cigar and what he ate before, and because I can actually agree with a lot of things that are being said. And then sometimes I think I wish I had smoked this, in a different way, not just kind of. It's
Right.
just like that. There's some YouTube videos out there, people like with the window open,
Exactly.
smoking a cigar, and there's all this wind going on, and the guy's like, "See how this cigar is burning so funky? It's burning more here than here." So of course, you
Yeah.
asshole, your window is open, and there's all this wind coming inside,
Yep.
and
Exactly.
of course, like
Yeah.
again, it's that's why I don't, when I see reviews or bad reviews or good reviews, of course we get excited. It's good for marketing. We want to make the top 25 of Cigar Aficionado, cigar sales, but
Right.
but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
Right.
Interesting.
Exactly. I mean, that's
Well,
that's what we preach.
Speaking about the blending, how can other people learn how to blend cigars then?
Like if
So
it's a
I
complex
got
process,
I
right?
got
I mean,
no, I got this question a lot lately. It's funny. It was a big discussion in one of the Facebook groups. They have like an industry Facebook group,
yeah.
and which there's several manufacturers, which I'm not going to mention their names. And we got that question kind of pop up. Here's my take. I think anyone can learn how to make rice and beans and throw a steak at the grill. I
Yeah.
think if you have, like just like this friend of mine said, if you have good ingredients, most likely will taste good. But there's only maybe, I don't know, I think it's like 13 or 14 3-star Michelin chefs in the world. It's just
Right.
like that. It's only like one Kobe Bryant, one Michael Jordan, and one Dominic Wilkins, and one. I mean, if you want to be in the performance sports, you want to be a performance athlete, you got to have your body built for it. And you can actually train 6 hours a day. Put your mind that you're going to be the best basketball player in the world. But if you don't have the body composition, if you don't have the materials, it's going to be really hard. And I think people they think that you can just become a chef or a cigar blender just because you train, you practice, and you can. Again, you can. I'm not saying you can't, but there's always going to be people that are super tasters, or they have an inclination for it, or it's just me trying to become an artist like my daughter. I can learn techniques. I can learn how to paint. I can learn how to create textures, but I'll never be Deborah, my daughter, because she has this amazing superpower where she can just kind of create things that you not even imagine. It's built on her. I
Right.
think the same thing is to make cigars. You know, it's built on you. It's built for people who are enologists who makes blends for wine blends. Uh, it is that's factual. That's scientifically proven that people that can that are super tasters, they tend to be very creative when it comes to blending wine, or even blending whiskey, or blending cigars, or
Right.
making a special dish. People that can cook already in their heads and think like, hey, if I add this kind of spicy with this other element here, this with this umami thing, this will create this reaction in people's mouth, and that will clean their palate for the next dish. And all the so not everybody. I cannot do the you know. I cannot be an artist. I actually tried to be a basketball player. I trained my entire life. I played for high school, but one day, you know, I have to face the fact that I'm just 6 foot tall, and that my body composition is not so good to be. I'm not fast enough to play professional. So that's my answer to you. I think you can learn, yes, and you should always try, and you should always proceed. But also, uh, I have a hard time with people that I would never call myself a master, you know, and being a master, it's not a title that you give to yourself, nor
Right.
even a title. It's a title that's given to you. And in the cigar world, it's given because of respect, and it's given because of your history, of your achievements. You know, I have very good friends who go to these tobacco universities and stuff, which I think it's cool. I think they should go. There should be more out there, but you cannot just go there and get out and say, "Oh, I'm a master blender."
Right. Yeah. I actually, you know, it's a little sad to hear because I don't think I was one of those people that was born with, with that talent
Maybe you
of
are.
taste.
Maybe you are.
But I like that answer because I I mean I personally, you know, I've learned about your journey. I've followed your journey. I've smoked your cigars. I've heard a lot of others, right, outside of you talk about your cigars and talk about you. I think that it makes a lot of sense. Like I think you have, you know, you talked about, you know, your condition and that allows you to have, you know, that 1% right of positive with that ability to taste specifically and you know increase your senses of, and whatever that exactly is. I don't know the science behind it and all, but I think that it's exactly right that, you know, a lot of people can try to blend the cigars, and they should, like you said, explore it just like you did the basketball thing. I did the same thing with football. I played all the way through college. I thought I was gonna make it, you know, all this sort of stuff, and Logan did too, right? We both
Yeah.
had our, you know, and
But
you're
but
specifically
listen,
made for something, right?
just to complement this thought, there's another side to it. Because in this discussion, Facebook, a guy said, "Well, but we are making cigars for average people. You don't make cigars for super tasters." And he's right. But have you ever kind of go to a restaurant and order a dish that you just don't know how it tastes so good? You don't know how to explain. You don't know even notice all the nuances. You just feel like, man, this is so good. I never experienced this before. And then the music's perfect, the company's perfect, everything kind of matches together. Um, I think cigar makers, they make cigars for everybody, and
I
but
like that.
they might not know uh, they might not know how how to explain, and they might not maybe see all the dimensions of what's going on, but they just feel like very kind of impacted
Yeah,
by that cigar. So that was my answer. I think uh, so. Michelin star chefs, they don't cook for Michelin star chefs. They cook for everybody.
I like that. So you brought up the fact that, you know, there's, depending on what you're drinking, right, and then the wine and all that sort of stuff. So we're both having a Woodford Reserve double oaked, right?
Woodford Reserve.
A
Oh, yeah.
nice, fantastic, um, you know, pairing. But can you go into why do certain wines, like I know you're a winemaker yourself, correct? And
Yes.
why do certain, like people say, oh man, you got to have this whiskey, and with cigars, you got to have this wine. Is that a specific taste? Is there a reason that, alcoholic drinks? Is it the feeling you get, like you're talking about? What can you kind of, I guess, explain why do you think that that's a common pairing?
Well, I think the most common pairing that you see is people smoking cigars with whiskey or with bourbon or cognac, right? So there's something in common with all those drinks that enhances how you perceive flavor, especially in the upper palate in the back of your throat. Try to imagine when you listen to a music, if you guys like music or not. When you close
Yeah.
your eyes, you can sometimes focus into one instrument that's been playing that in the symphony or rock band, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's almost like when you mute some of your senses, some other senses become more vivid. That's why blind people, they hear more than we do,
Yeah.
right? So when you put anything that's over 40% alcohol in your lips, the first reaction is that tingling on your lips and the tip of your tongue, right? So it's happening there. You basically numbing that part of your palate. And when you numb that part of your palate, your upper palate in the back of your throat becomes way more vivid. So now you perceive more flavors in the back of in your upper palate in the back of your
Yeah.
throat because you numb that palate. This is the most common one. But there's several types of pairings, right? But they're basically divided in three. It's called the complementary pairing, which is when you drink the wine with the food, and then that food tastes better because of the wine. The wine tastes better because of the food. So that's an example of complementary pairing, which happens in cigars as well. Then you have, well, I call the antagonist pairing, which is when you create a contrast to be able to understand another element, which is the example I just gave to you. So
Yeah.
you have one element, and that kind of mutes something or enhance another part of your body that will perceive the flavor better. And then you have what I call the ultra pairing. The ultra pairing is synergy. It's when two elements, they react with each other and create a third element, just like water. So if you have two molecules of oxygen separate, it's a gas. If you have one molecule of hydrogen, it's a gas. But when you combine these two, you have water.
Right.
So it's the same thing. Sometimes you are eating a cheese, a sharp cheese, and you're smoking a tobacco that has high acidity. And then it creates a third experience of that combination of the flavors that wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this combination of the two.
Wow.
Does that make
Interesting.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does make
That's
sense. It's just
fascinating.
like, now I just want to go
So
out and try all these things that you're teaching, right? I want to, all right, let me try this. I'm gonna numb my, the tip of my tongue and try this, and then eat this cheese to see,
yeah. But there's way more, like the residual of the bourbon. I mean, it creates a very interesting pairings. When you drink wine, so wine pairing is one of the most difficult, and that's another myth. A lot of people say, I like to have my cigar with a glass of wine. What wine? What cigar? Like it's one of the hardest. I dare to say that 90% of the cigars will never pair with wine.
Really?
So pairing a cigar with the wine has a lot to do with the pH of the leaves, like how much acidic that smoke is, and the amount of protein that's present in the wine. The protein you found in the skin of the grapes. So the wines that are high in tannin, they're very, very dark. They have more protein. Remember that we were talking about the taste buds that require that protein to react. So the wine creates a layer in your tongue and in all the tissue of your mouth. Have you ever drank a wine that's very, very high in tannins, and then you look at your teeth, it's all like red?
Yeah.
But if you drink like a Pinot or white wine, it doesn't get red. Because that protein is not adhering to the tissue of your mouth. So there's certain tobaccos that react really well with that layer of tannin that's covering your mouth, and the pH, of course, is very important.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of cigar.
It's awesome.
Oh, you guys,
Luciano cigar science.
You guys are going this route. I never talked so much about
No, I like it. I think it's
This is
the
great.
science behind cigars
Look,
than today. I talk
I-
about it, but not as much as I'm talking tonight.
well, I think it's really good information for new beginners out there because, you know, like you said, there's a lot of reviewers and people out there that talk about, man, you gotta have this bourbon with this cigar. You gotta have this specific, and
Yeah.
and why? You know, the why is always like, you know, people don't know why. And I think this is, I mean, people could listen to this episode and be like, okay, I don't know what to try with what, but I at least am educated enough to say, all right, I
No,
think I'm getting
but
this. I
that's
think
the
I'm
beauty
getting
of
this.
pairing. No, that's the beauty of pairing. It's like the try and error. You know that we don't have to kind of be, you know, scientists to kind of do
Right.
pairing. The do pairing is exactly like what your brain connects with the two elements. You know, sometimes I'm smoking a cigar and I think, I think this will go well with bourbon, and then I'll try it and it makes sense. Sometimes I try it, so it doesn't make sense. So and that's the thing, you know. That's exactly the fun of pairing is trying. You know?
So let me ask you this. I'm no expert. I'm not near your knowledge of palates and the whole tasting
I don't think anyone
experience.
is.
But for me, right, when I'm thinking of a pairing, I like to either taste or even just smell the drink first, right? Whether it's a bourbon, cognac, whiskey, scotch, whatever, wine, whatever it is. I like to smell that. And I typically think in my head of a specific cigar that like I could imagine, like I want at that moment. Does that make sense? Or am I just like making this whole thing up?
100%, 100%.
Nice.
Because no, yeah, because I mean, everybody has. I'll go back and talk a little bit about synesthesia so you guys understand. Everybody has a little bit of.
Right.
So the you probably have a dish that I don't know your mom made, someone in your family, a restaurant you went to, and if you concentrate, you can remember that flavor, and even taste it in your mouth. Most human beings can do that,
Oh yeah.
right? That memory of the flavor, it's part of that synesthesia. There was some other elements that made you remember that flavor. Another way that I like to explain is when you have ever experienced someone scratching a surface or a wall, then you feel goosebumps, it almost hurts in your body.
Yeah.
So if you multiply that by 10, 20, it's what a person with synesthesia has. Almost like every single thing can provoke that type of pain, you know. But we all have it. Or you go to a concert and the low frequencies are so strong that you start feeling your stomach sick. You feel like there's nausea. It's because of the low frequencies of the drums,
Bass.
the bass. So you thinking in your head of a taste profile and trying to correlate even before you actually put the smoke. It's exactly what synesthesia is. It's exactly how you can exercise your brain into pairing. It's by imagining the flavor before you actually experience the flavor. By imagining the flavor of the cigar with something else, you know. And we do this. We just don't pay attention, but we do that all the time. When we cook, we think about, what about some garlic here? What about some olive oil with this? And then your brain is already constructing and building
those memories of different flavors.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Well, I'm glad I'm not too far off then.
No, not at all, man.
That's good. That is good because I've tried to learn it, and we're expanding. You know, a lot of our listeners, a lot of our followers have been asking, okay, I'm getting into cigars. What do I drink with my cigars? Right. But they broaden it, just like you said. What do I drink with my cigars? Like, okay, well, it depends on the cigar. It depends on, but now now everybody watching, you guys can focus on, all right, maybe figure out what you want to drink first, or I guess it could go the opposite, right? If you smell the cigar, it could make you think of something you would want to drink.
Exactly. You know, smoke a cigar, then
I'm just
pay attention to that taste. No, but you know, that's what it is. You can smoke a cigar and think about the food. I'm smoking a new blend right now, And for me, it's the best time to smoke is now because I'm hungry. And I'm here now already thinking about what I want to eat tonight, you know. So I'm gonna meet some friends at a restaurant here at the steakhouse. I'm already thinking about the menu that I know, and
Yeah.
thinking about what I'm gonna
I like that.
have with it.
I like that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I should have I should have looked up the flavors before, so that, like you were saying, I can think of as I'm smoking the cigar.
Yeah.
Kind of think of
Get those
get
notes
those
out of it.
flavors out more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So Luciano, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a new cigar smoker?
That's a good one, man. I think my advice to any new cigar smoker is just kind of go at your pace. Don't, because usually new cigar smoker uh, they usually start smoking because of some sort of peer pressure. They
Yeah.
because
Right.
they go to they hear amazing things or they smell. They go to a cigar lounge with some friends, and every friend that wants to introduce someone to cigars like to teach them how to smoke. So you got to try this. This is very good. This is how you retrohale. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. I think this is very much like a self-discovery. It's almost like it's like babies. When babies are learning how to walk, there's no manual for them. They're built to, and we are all built to perceive flavors. So once someone experience the whole smoking process, I think they will naturally learn. So I don't think actually smoking cigars is something to be taught. It's something to be experienced.
I
I
love
think
that
that
answer.
would
It's a great answer.
You just got to dive in and start learning for yourself.
Yeah, nailed it.
yeah, I think so.
That's actually
Just
we've never gotten that answer before.
Yeah.
because again,
I think
I know a lot of people. I think the most common answer is start with a mild cigar, right?
yep,
But
right.
actually, in my case, I started with a very strong cigar,
Really?
and which I mean, we have to kind of also, eventually, maybe not tonight, but this whole thing about strength is so arguable, like strength of nicotine and boldness will never make you sick. So
Really?
it's almost like your body stops. It's just like when when you eat too much and you feel
Mhm.
like you're full,
Yeah.
you stop. Usually when you smoke too much nicotine, you have that same alarm that tells you it's time to stop. What you don't have an alarm for, it's when you smoke under fermented tobacco that is high concentration of ammonia. And those make you very, very sick, stomach sick. Nicotine doesn't make your stomach sick. Nicotine, the first effect is gives you some sort of relaxation, then focus. You start focusing more, just like caffeine, very similar to caffeine. And then after that, you start getting some chills. There's a vasoconstriction, so your blood pressure can be elevated a little bit. And then you might have some headaches when you're intoxicated with nicotine. But like nausea or stomach sick, it's usually because of underfermented tobacco.
So that's a myth that if you are a rookie and you're smoking a really, really heavy cigar and you got sick, it's not because it was a really heavy cigar.
But listen, no, I think what is a myth is what people perceive to be strong, because so, something happened in the late 90s and to this day is that when people look at a dark wrapper, they think that the cigar is bold and strong. But actually, in most of the cases, you're talking about harshness and spiciness. And that's obtained with under-fermented tobacco. So the more under-fermented the tobacco is, the more of that sensation of harshness you have in the mouth. A true Maduro, a true well-processed, fully processed tobacco should be buttery, not actually aggressive. And
I
the
think I
less
can
ammonia,
actually
the
see
more,
that.
yeah, the less ammonia you have, the more processed the tobacco is, the more the nicotine is absorbed by your blood system. So the more you absorb nicotine. So which means that the less harsh the tobacco is, usually that's when the nicotine is being delivered. The more ammonia almost creates a blockage to the nicotine to be delivered to your body.
Really?
So it's the opposite. But again, a lot of people perceive strength with that harshness and spiciness, and then it's not a myth, it's true. If you smoke too much of that cigar or too fast, you're gonna get sick, your stomach's gonna feel upset, and you can't eat anything, and it's gonna ruin your day. So
Right.
that's why, if you go with milders, you're gonna feel better. But actually, a strong cigar, when I say strength, depends what language you're talking about. When I say strength, I'm talking about the amount of nicotine that's delivered to you by that cigar.
Right. Huh. Wow. Well, I mean, Luciano, I think we could go on for hours and hours and hours of just these different things. So we'll definitely have to have you on again. But we are out of time today. Thank you so much for coming on and just laying some great education on us. I think a lot of the cigar beginners now
Pleasure, brother.
would be much more knowledgeable about how to at least approach it, right? How to approach their just journey into the cigar world, and just try all the different things that you said. I mean, it's my brain is sitting here just thinking about trying all the
I'm
different things
spinning
that you
with
said too.
questions right now. We'll
So
definitely have to have you on again. We
Hey,
very much appreciate
hey,
it.
hey, listen. I think I'm just a learner, like you guys, and I ask questions, and the knowledge is not something that you inherit; it's acquired, right? So you
right.
study. I'm a curious person, and I think just you guys, the questions you guys asked are very good questions, and I think this is going to help a lot, everybody uh, to imagine and to dream of a
I like it.
uh, better future. And when I look at the name of the podcast, you remind, of course, I name a cigar after uh, the same name called the Dreamer. Do you guys
Mhm.
want to know the reason why I named the Dreamer?
Absolutely. I would love to
Okay.
know the reason behind that.
The reason behind that is because uh, I have a very good friend of mine who's a writer and he in a philosopher, the modern philosopher. And he told me a story that when he went to do a TED talk, he does TED talks, he talks, speaks all over the
Mhm.
world. So he went to this place where there was several speakers, but coincidentally, each one of them had like some sort of specialty in animals. Like someone will write about, gorillas. One will talk about fish. One will talk about penguins. And he was at the table, and they asked him, "What is your specialty?" And he said, My specialty are humans." "Oh, you're an anthropologist?" "No, I'm not." "Are you a physician or a scientist?" Said, "No, I'm
Yeah.
not." And that made him think about what differentiates human beings from any other species in the world. And his findings and his answer, and I usually ask these questions when I'm speaking, doing public speaking. I said, what is the vocation of human beings? Like silkworms, they make silk. Honeybees, they make honey. Uh, every animal seems to be part of a ecosystem, and they have a purpose.
Right.
When you ask that questions about humans, usually there's a silence. People don't know what to say. But actually, his opinion, which is my opinion as well, is that human beings are actually made to dream. We are the only species that are
Ah,
capable.
love that.
We are the only species that are capable of imagining something that doesn't exist and create. So and I hear there's like this. Someone posted one day just kind of mess with me. He posted like, "Oh, I was dreaming and then I became awake." So dreaming is not the opposite of being as dream is not the opposite of being awake. So being awake is the opposite of being asleep when you're actually not dreaming. So you don't have to sleep to dream.
Right.
Dreaming is about imagining, and imagining something that doesn't exist. Just by imagining, it becomes reality already in your brain. And that's why we are so good with technology. That's why there's evolution in medicine. That's why there is, in all fields of human knowledge are developed because of our ability to imagine solutions, imagine things that don't exist. So I just hope you guys continue to imagine things that don't exist and do like a different way of doing podcasts and interviews. You guys are doing a great job. It was a pleasure to be here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that story. That's a great way to finish it off. I mean, That's exactly. Dreamer has been my kind of tagline of my life for a long time. I still have a little sign in my office today that says dream, that was in my bedroom when I was literally like 2 months old, that my parents had. And it's been everything that I've done is trying to imagine something that's not real yet. And that's how we are here today talking to you. So it is really awesome to hear you talk about that.
He said, "You don't have to sleep to dream." That's my favorite line.
It is good.
I love that.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Absolutely, Luciano. Well, we definitely got to have you on some more. We gotta
That's
we gotta
true, brother.
help everybody learn. Thank you so much for being on today, guys. Make sure that you are following. I mean, we didn't even get into Pichardo and Ace Prime and all the things that Luciano has, but just look him up. Look up Luciano Meirelles on all the social media. Look up Ace Prime, Pichardo, all those different entities that he's a part of. Everything he does is absolutely fantastic. We've enjoyed smoking his cigars today. Make sure that you check him out. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and follow us if you want to learn any more about cigars, you want to learn how to get into cigars. And if you just want to see Luciano again, just follow us. We'll figure out a way to get him on again. We appreciate you guys so much. And I think that's it.
That's perfect. That's a great way to end.
That's
I
it.
love it. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Luciano.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.